Adonis goes immediately to the shore of the river where Daphne likes to read and pray. He wondered if the charm that was set upon him can make her feeling towards him sway. Adonis enters through the wilderness of the cane stalk. With each step closer, his heart feels heavily weighed. He stares at the apple of his eye that's shining in the moonlight, and his heart stirs when he sees the moonlight shimmering on her polished black skin. Her eyes were a deep, soulful brown, with hints of blue ghost lights. Her hair is wrapped in a dark chignon that one could assume she wears to keep herself from sin. He comes out of the stalk and moves towards her, and his burly figure shadows over her. She looks up startled, but she calms herself when she recognizes that it's only Adonis. Bonsoir, Monsieur Adonis, she greets out the politeness of her society. Bonsoir, cher, he replies. He stares awkwardly at her for a few seconds before looking towards the river. She closes up her Bible and says, "Well, I shouldn't linger." As she gets up, Adonis feels an unspeakable feeling, like an arrow striking through his liver. He moves in front of her and obliges her, saying, "Well, cher, no belle should walk home by herself, and a real gentleman ain't no way gonna let you do that." She says nothing, but only begins to hug her Bible tightly and walk south of the shore. Adonis follows. He follows her, but she remains quiet and wonders if she sorrows. While walking, Daphne stares down at her shadows. Adonis didn't want to impose, but eventually drawled with his voice thick as molasses, "I think you're prettier than any belle I've seen at any of them fey dodos." Daphne ponderously widens her eyes at his comment and replies, "Merci, monsieur. But, you know a girl like me don't have any business at them fey dodos." She then lets out a calm laugh that quickly dies. "We could have went through the canes. It would have been a quicker route." "This way is fine," she quickly says. The walk continues to be silent as the wind rushes through the canes. The leaves on the stalk swaying and talking cacophonous with a great horned owl mournfully hooting low. They arrived at her small cabin, and she knocked at the door. Adonis takes off his hood to show respect for her father. Pastor Chatelaine opens the door quizzically at his daughter and then at Adonis. "Papa, sorry for coming home late. Adonis saw me at the river and thought it chivalrous to walk me home." "I just couldn't have any belle walk home alone at this hour," Adonis droned. "C'est bon. Merci, Adonis," Pastor Chatelaine heedfully states. Daphne goes next to her father and with her head down. "Merci, Monsieur Adonis. Bonne nuit." "Bonne nuit," Adonis replies. Daphne returns to her refuge and Pastor Chatelaine comes outside, closing the door behind him. He puts his hand on Adonis' shoulder and takes him aside. "Monsieur." Adonis, perceiving that the pastor is going to mention something about his love for his daughter, and cuts him off and says, "I was just being a gentleman, preacher." "I don't doubt, but I want to let you know again that we are a Christian family, and my daughter's a Christian girl." "What makes you think I ain't a Christian?" "By their fruits ye should know them," Pastor Chatelaine quotes. "I believe in God," he screeches. "People been saying that you been up in the swamp messing with that voodoo." Adonis' eyes widen and he beats his own chest. "No, monsieur, I ain't been playing with voodoo. I've been wrestling them gators." "Au revoir," Pastor dubiously asks. "Oui, preacher," Adonis says with his head lifting higher. Pastor Chatelaine stares on and nods his head. "Okay, bonne nuit." And Pastor Chatelaine walks back into his house. Adonis walks away feeling wavering by Maman's dealer's God's vows. Perhaps the gods were asleep, he thinks. Tomorrow's another day, he thinks, to try to charm her again. But instead, tried to be charming himself. He determined in his heart that tomorrow, he will make those gods to rouse. 3. Tomorrow was Sunday, and Sunday has come. Adonis camps out by the small chapel that the believers of Jesus worship. At the moment, they begin to hum and start hymnlining, and Adonis scouts Daphne singing unto her God as the sun goes down. When the people of the church left from fellowshipping, Adonis hides in a nearby cane field that belonged to Monsieur Trave, but his eyes are still fanatical on her. The last to come out of the church was Daphne and her father, Pastor Chatelain. Adonis pokes his head from the stalks to ascertain what was their next move. He overstrains his eyes at Daphne when she comes by the cane stalks. Adonis sustains his eagerness as he sees Pastor Chatelain walk towards their home. He pulls back into the cane stalks and walks further down. Adonis is certain that he shall attain her love by the power of the gods of Momandulus. Adonis emerges from the cane field just to find Daphne breaking off a piece of the stalk to suck on something sweet. Adonis moves his feet quickly and approaches her. Bonne nuit, la belle Daphne. She jumps and drops the piece of cane, meeting his gaze, and she shows a whisper of chagrin. Leave me be, Monsieur Adonis. I'd rather be alone, she says politely. Adonis became vexed and suddenly felt sick by her statement. When she tries to walk away, he grabs her. She stares open-mouthed while he gives her a grimace and in a low voice, I love you. The wind blew into the cane and its leaves swayed, talking cacophonous with a great horned owl mournfully hooning low. Daphne says nothing, but her eyes prayed up unto her God and cried louder than a bobcat's cry. Adonis jumps and lets her go in the act, and she runs into the cane field. But a charm overcomes him. A charm blinds him. He suddenly hears the chanting of the prayers of Momandulus amidst the dreadful cooing of the looms. He repeats, I see other spirits rising in the land. Fight his battles and the path brought, lest his life be as the burning sands. He runs into the cane field and is overcome with a thrill of laughter and excitement when he follows the path Daphne has taken. More athletic than her, he catches up to her. Daphne, however, is light on her feet. The cane field is like a maze, an endless maze. Daphne is grown exhausted. Crying tears into the Louisiana clay, she looks up at the moon and runs south. Adonis, as strong as a lion, seeks her and comes closer to touch her. Almost reaching the shores, Adonis reaches out his hand and barely misses her dress, instead grabbing the cane stalk. Daphne reaches the shore, but her will to keep running dies, for she sees Adonis running towards her, making her sigh. She backs up, her feet touching the shallow waters. She lifts her hand up with a bitter cry, begging him to have mercy on her. She attempts to run again, but her strength is exerted. He grabs a hold on her, and being stronger than her, begins to try to know her in the way he always wanted to know her. Instead of screaming, she begins whispering a prayer to her God. Adonis stares at her mouth, her tears, and her closed eyes. He loosened his grip on her and stood up above her. The wind became still, and the cane stopped swaying. Adonis came to his senses and stepped back from her, watching her head still halfway in the shallow waters, her body shivering, and her mouth still moving in prayer. Adonis wanted to help her up and took a step forward. Then the shot banged out. Daphne opened her eyes and stared at Adonis awkwardly. Adonis felt a burning in his back. Adonis turned around and Pastor Chatelain fired another shot. Adonis felt a burning in his chest. He felt a burning in his back. He fell back into the sand of the shore and remained there until everything turned black. Thank you for listening, and thank you for joining and hearing my short story. If you liked it and you like more content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, the truth shall make you free. Peace.